Messengers who were upset brought bad news that rumbled through the halls of Jehoshaphat's house as night fell to the earth. A huge army was moving toward his kingdom, and he didn't have much time to make a strong defense. A fear that spread as quickly and fiercely as an open fire among the people. When this danger came up quickly, Jehoshaphat made a choice that showed both guts and spiritual belief. Instead of getting ready for war as everyone expected, he chose a reaction based on faith. Now picture this, a king and his people praying on their knees, holding on to the hope of a miracle. When the important day came, the king's plan was even more unique. The sound of hymns and songs, not shields and swords, filled the air. They were sung by a band of devoted Christians, not guns. The result was a wonder that will never be forgotten. It may be interesting to know what Jehoshaphat did in secret to win without losing a single life. How could a group of people who are full of favor become a chorus of faith and power? What was the amazing ending to this story? Read all the way to the end of this story to find out how Jehoshaphat's unwavering trust changed the people's fate for good. Today, we're going to tell you about Jehoshaphat's win, which he won without using violence. But what secret surrounds this amazing victory? As king of the fourth kingdom of Judah, Jehoshaphat became a sign of trusting God as a leader. During his rule, there was a strong return to Christian beliefs. As a son of Asa, Jehoshaphat learned to follow the rules set by God. His rule was based on a strong belief in faith and fairness. His main goal was to bring back understanding of the holy texts, but he also worked to build strategic partnerships and make the kingdom's defenses stronger. Jehoshaphat told the Levites and priests to teach God's lessons in all of Judah's cities. This was to make sure that everyone knew and followed God's rule. Even though he worked hard to make his country stronger spiritually and financially, big problems came up. The Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Meunites all joined together to fight him, which was a very serious danger. It was rare for enemies to work together, and it was also very risky. This made the stakes very high. Instead of giving in to his fear, Jehoshaphat looked for knowledge and God's help. He told the people of Judah to fast and pray together for a certain amount of time. This was a time of giving up and praying very hard because of a huge problem. As his people gathered in a chapel, the king prayed fervently, asking for help at a time when he felt completely hopeless. The incredible events that followed were made possible by the unity and faith that were shown. This shows the power of group spirit and devotion in difficult times. Jehoshaphat was known for his love of God and his desire to clean up worship in Judah. He got rid of practices that were based on idols and urged people to renew their commitment to holy traditions. He also set up a fair and honest court system. Before we go on to talk more about Jehoshaphat's great leadership, we'd like to invite you to become a part of our group. If you like this moving story, please like and subscribe to our channel. Also, don't forget to turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. We can keep telling you stories that improve your faith and give you hope for life only if you help us. As always, if you want to help this project, please leave a super thanks. We can keep telling more Bible stories and spreading this message of faith and hope thanks to your gift. Thank you so much for your help, as the story of this amazing event is told again. After Jehoshaphat's miraculous win, Judah's king took strong steps to keep the peace and order in his country. He put judges in charge of all of Judah's places and told them to do their jobs honestly and with respect for the Lord. Through his guidance, Judah experienced a time of peace and wealth, gaining the respect of its neighbors and letting its people live in safety and divine blessings. But the peace was broken quickly when a group of enemies announced they were marching against Judah. When Jehoshaphat was faced with a problem that could undo all of his progress, he did something that wasn't typical. He didn't get his army ready for war. Instead, he declared a fast across the kingdom and told everyone to go to the temple to seek divine direction. Jehoshaphat prayed with all his heart in the middle of the crowd, "Lord, you are the God of our fathers. Don't you rule over all the countries of the world? Power and strength are in your hands, and no one can stop you." The prayer wasn't just a request for help, it was also an acceptance of God's power and a show of how much they relied on God to save them. During his rule, Jehoshaphat, who was known for being holy and fair, pushed for many changes in religion and encouraged people to be more devoted to the Lord. He was born during a time of unstable politics and the military. He followed in the path of his godly father Asa, who had set the stage for a government based on divine principles. In addition to building fortifications and military bases to make the country safer, Jehoshaphat was a passionate supporter of religious beliefs. He sent Levites and priests to teach the people in every place and make sure that everyone knew and followed God's law. During his rule, things were stable and prosperous, and the strategic partnerships he made with nearby countries made Judah even stronger. Even though he made these deals, Jehoshaphat stayed true to his faith. He got rid of all the idols and pagan temples in the country and encouraged people to serve the Lord in a pure and sincere way. It was especially impressive how hard Jehoshaphat worked to teach the rules. His actions included sending religious leaders all over the country and setting up a fair and successful court system. Honest judges did a good job of ruling properly, and when the cases were really important, the king himself watched over them to show his dedication to divine justice. During Jehoshaphat's rule, there were also problems within the kingdom, such as religion and tribe unrest. To deal with these problems, the king called meetings where he read God's law to the people. This reminded them of God's promises and rules and strengthened their faith and unity as a society. This all-around view scared Judah during hard times and also helped build a society that put justice, faith, and trust in God above all else. After the terrible things that happened in Judah, Jehoshaphat, who had a strong faith, started a new way to teach religion all over the country. According to the holy books of 2 Chronicles 17 and 19, the king put together a group of rulers, Levites and priests, and told them to go to all of Judah's towns. They went from place to place, teaching the people the divine rules while carrying the holy book of the Lord's law. This created a wave of unity and faith that spread through all communities. The movement not only made the country more spiritual, but it also made it clear that only the Lord should be worshipped, as shown by the altars that were built all over the kingdom. Jehoshaphat knew that Judah's safety and prosperity were directly linked to its bond with God. This was the guiding principle for all of his choices. Even with all of these attempts to promote peace and religious zeal, threats from outside the kingdom kept it on high alert. Unstable agreements with nearby countries and Judah's enemies, who were never completely scared off, put the fragile peace to the test. In this unsure time, the alliance of the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Meunites grew into a very dangerous threat. According to chapter 20 of the second book of Chronicles, these united troops moved against Judah, making everyone feel hopeless. They were seen at Rasazon Tamar, also called En-Gedi, as they came in by sea from Syria. When the people of Judah heard about this progress, they were paralyzed with fear. But Jehoshaphat, out of deep love and trust, decided to pray for help from God instead of taking up arms. The king called for a fast across the country and told everyone to get together to pray and ask God to help them. He made this choice because he was sure that the fight could only be won by God's help and not by human means. As a group of people from Judah and Jerusalem gathered in a temple, Jehoshaphat said a powerful prayer. He talked about how God was in charge of all nations and could help his people. There was an amazing event that happened during this time of intense prayer. The Lord's Spirit came upon Josiah, a Levite who was related to Asaph. He stood in the middle of the crowd to give a prophetic word. In line 15 of the same chapter, Josiah spoke words that were very powerful. "The fight is not yours, so don't be scared or down because of all the people there. It is God's." People felt a lot better after hearing this announcement, and they felt confident again. With God's word of success still fresh in their minds, Jehoshaphat and everyone else there fell to their knees in worship, thanking God for being faithful and soon to protect them. Because he was sure that the predicted win would happen, Jehoshaphat took steps to prepare the army for the next day. However, he did so in a way that showed his unique faith. He put singers and musicians in front of the armed soldiers so that they could celebrate the Lord's promise of rescue before the fight even started. The person did this to show that they had no control over their lives and to set the stage for one of the most amazing wonders in Judah's history. Judah was about to see the start of a new day, marked by an event that would be remembered for ages as proof of God's power. In an act of strong and unwavering faith, Jehoshaphat picked a way to fight that made no sense at all. That's why he put singers and bands in front of the troops. They marched into war without weapons, but with songs of worship. You will be saved if you trust in the Lord your God. You will do well if you believe in his messengers. According to the book of 2 Chronicles 20:21, the king said, as the sounds of worship and joy filled the air, something magical started to happen. When the Lord heard the songs of his people, he sneaked up on Judah's enemies. When the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the troops from Seir were confused by God, they turned on each other and killed each other, as the next lines of the same chapter go into more detail. The men of Judah saw heavenly power at work. They were led by their religious brothers. They watched as their enemies were destroyed by the chaos that God himself had caused, without having to use swords or plan battles. What they saw was one of the most exciting events in the history of the Bible. The battlefield turned into a huge pile of dead bodies, and not a single enemy was still alive. The army of Judah saw what seemed like a realized prophecy when they reached the watchtower in the desert. Bodies lying all over the land, and a deathly quiet that had replaced the noise of war. The Bible's account that no one fled shows how much of a victory God had given his people. God's power was so great that it took Jehoshaphat and his men 3 whole days to gather the goods that their fallen enemies had left behind. It was said that there was so much wealth that it was impossible to take it all away. This wealth represented both a military win and a blessing of plenty that filled Judah's coffers to the brim. This win was so big that it was felt far beyond the borders of Judah. Fear and awe spread quickly through the nearby countries as they heard about the amazing event and the clear display of divine power. The Bible story makes it clear that when those countries heard that the Lord had fought against Israel's enemies, they were filled with fear of God. This awareness led to a time of long peace in Judah. Other nations came to respect and fully understand that the God of Israel was a powerful and protective force that could save and support his people through any hardship. This important event for King Jehoshaphat's faith and the faith of his people was greatly honored. The people of Judah were filled with thanksgiving and excitement, which showed how much they trusted God to take care of them. They were sure that no matter how big the problem was, God would manage it to save them and keep them safe. After their victory over their enemies, which was planned by God, the nearby nations were scared of the clear display of God's power and stayed away from Judah. During this time of peace, Jehoshaphat could not only enjoy a time of wealth and peace, but he could also work even harder to make the changes he had made stick. It showed how true faith in God and following his rules could really change a kingdom. Jehoshaphat worked even harder to teach the Bible and encourage honest worship of the Lord, which made the spiritual roots of his government stronger. His rule showed that people could trust that if they put their trust in God, he would always protect and guide them. People saw this time of peace not only as a blessing, but also as proof that God was with them. The people of Judah were greatly touched by these events, which showed them that faith could help them get through even the hardest problems. The government of Jehoshaphat taught that a country's real strength was its relationship with God, not its armed power or number of people. They believed that God was their best defense in all situations, and this belief shaped every part of their lives. During this time, Jehoshaphat's reputation as a leader who was led and loved by God grew stronger. The win over their enemies made both Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah more spiritually important. People saw him as a leader whose faith in God went beyond normal expectations, which inspired both his followers at the time and people who came after him. When they got back to Jerusalem after the win, they were filled with thanks and joy. The people, led by Jehoshaphat, marched back to the city singing praises, as described in the 2nd Chronicles. This showed that they had fresh faith in God's power. Their happiness came from the happiness God had given them, which turned their fear into victory. It wasn't just luck that Judah held strong under Jehoshaphat's rule. It was proof that God kept his word. While he was back, Jehoshaphat didn't take it easy. As he promised to keep Judah following God's rules, he continued to improve the kingdom's defenses and encourage people to live moral and just lives. The king kept stressing how important it was to keep trusting God. His people had won, and he told them that this showed what God could do when they had faith in hard times. According to the 2nd Chronicles, when Jehoshaphat was king, the kingdom had a time of great peace that God gave. This made Judah even stronger. This peace was very important for Judah's progress, both financially and emotionally. The story of Jehoshaphat taught us that the only way to be truly safe is to have unwavering faith in God. For the people of Judah, this lesson was deeply ingrained. It was a lighthouse for anyone who wanted to know how divine faith and human government work together. When you think about what Jehoshaphat did, it's clear that problems are never permanent. Instead, they're a chance to show how strong faith in God can be. With this belief, Jehoshaphat not only made his country stronger, but he also taught his people how to be brave and strong in the face of future hardships. After the celebrations and days of progress made possible by the wonder Jehoshaphat had seen, he made a choice that would keep the memory of that divine action alive for future generations. He built monuments all over Judah, but it was in the Valley of Barakah, which became known as the Valley of Blessing, that a lasting sign of God's care was built. This place became a permanent reminder of the amazing things the Lord had done, which helped the people of Judah stay united and strong in their faith. The story of Jehoshaphat's wins, which were made possible by his unwavering faith in God, was carefully kept and passed down. It was not only a record of history, but also an important lesson about how faith can help you in tough times. This heritage taught future generations of Judah how to face problems with renewed faith and a deep knowledge of how important it is to believe in God's guidance. Now, let's look at a case study of these events. Imagine that you are in the crowd of Judah and you feel the weight of a huge threat that seems impossible to overcome. The rumors about the enemy alliance are very scary. A lot of strong forces are coming toward you with bad motives. Tension is thick in the air, and fear starts to spread like a thick fog. Jehoshaphat doesn't give up in fear, though. Instead, he calls everyone to the temple. He declares a fast and tells everyone to ask the Lord for direction, with a peace that goes beyond what most people can understand. Men, women, and children quickly fill the building as they come together to do an act of faith as a group. As a group, they pray, and the air is filled with hope and expectation. At this very important moment, Jehoshaphat stands up and leads a strong prayer. He calls out to God with a strong voice, remembering the promises God made and declaring that God is all-powerful. People around him pay close attention and join his pleas for help and forgiveness. During this meeting, the Lord's Spirit falls on Jaziel. He then rises with a word from God, saying that the fight does not belong to the people, but to God. These words make everyone feel better right away and give them new hope. It is made clear again that God is in charge, which gives everyone more courage. When the fight is supposed to happen, Jehoshaphat makes a brave choice. He puts singers and players in the front line to sing and praise as they face the danger. It takes a lot of faith to do something like this, but the king and his people are ready to put all their faith in God's power. Strange things happen as the songs get louder. God steps in and causes the enemies to become confused. They then start fighting each other until they are all killed. As God's word comes true, the soldiers of Judah who didn't have to fight are amazed. When they finally get to the other side of the battlefield, they only find the spoils of a magical victory: guns, clothes, and money. They think of the riches as a gift because they show that they trust God. It takes them 3 days to gather them all. In the valley of Berachah on the 4th day, everyone praised the Lord and celebrated how he had changed the valley into a place of endless joy. This time of worship and togetherness makes it clear that the win was only possible by God's power. Back in Jerusalem, Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah march with songs of thanksgiving because they know that God's presence will always be their greatest strength, no matter what obstacles they face. When the heroes came back to Jerusalem after their miraculous win, the whole city was filled with joy and thanksgiving. The streets were full of songs and praise, and people's strong faith in God's power and faithfulness could be heard everywhere. This amazing event not only marked a win, but it also had a huge impact on the spiritual identity of Judah, making faith an important part of their culture and way of life as a whole. This important event was told and passed down from one family to the next, becoming a permanent reminder of what faith can do. The story of Jehoshaphat is not just a piece of history. It is also a source of inspiration that encourages all leaders and followers to seek divine guidance, keep their faith in the face of hardship, and celebrate God's blessings. It teaches us that even when we face huge problems, having faith in God can miraculously change the course of events. The people of Judah had a lot more faith in their God after Jehoshaphat's win. They didn't just hear about his power, they saw it in action that could not be denied. The country came to believe that God is trustworthy and strong enough to save them. This brought long peace, which is emphasized in 2 Chronicles 20-30, which says that God gave the kingdom a time of rest. Not only did that peace give Judah a break from the constant threats from other countries, it also gave them a chance to improve their social and religious systems. There wasn't any direct strife, which made it easier for the economy and culture to grow. With trust in God at the center of all its actions and choices, the country was able to focus on building a more fair and godly society. Not only did the crisis have spiritual and mental effects, but Jehoshaphat's guidance during it showed how faith should guide action. His decision to turn to God instead of just military plans when a battle was about to happen showed the people how important it is for leaders to trust God. His actions not only encouraged people living at the same time, but they also set a standard for future leaders of Judah. This strong moral identity, which was strengthened by success, brought the country together. The people of Judah became even more united around their faith when they realized that their safety was tied to their bond with God. A strong force that kept the cultural and spiritual purity of the country together was this unity. Jehoshaphat's win had effects that went beyond the borders of Judah. When neighboring countries saw that God clearly liked Israel, they stayed away from them to avoid strife. According to 2 Chronicles 20:29, this fear of God made the area politically stable, which doesn't happen very often. Peace led to economic growth that had never been seen before. The kingdom entered a new era of wealth and security as farming grew, markets thrived, and trade grew. Judah had a time of wealth that was good for everyone when their economy grew and their social and spiritual structures were strong. So Jehoshaphat's win wasn't just a military one. It was also a turning point that changed everything about Judah. People still talk about that win because it shows what is possible when a group of people have complete faith in God and follow his instructions with bravery and commitment. Under Jehoshaphat's rule, the spiritual and physical life of Judah were changed in ways that will never go away. By being fair and teaching God's laws, he not only set up judges all over the country, but he also told them to be true and honest in their ruling, as it says in 2 Chronicles 19:9. This is what the Lord says: "Do your work with loyalty and a good heart, and fear the Lord. People trusted Jehoshaphat more because he was committed to justice. They also thought he was more than just a leader. They saw him as a loyal follower of divine ideals. This balance between faith and behavior gave Judah more than just peace in the government. It brought a strong moral rebirth to society. The people learned that worship, prayer, and loyalty were important for their safety and power. It became clear through Jehoshaphat's legacy that sincere faith in God, along with good and wise actions, has the power to fully change a country. The story of Jehoshaphat shows clearly what kind of brave leadership looks like when you put your full trust in the Lord. He showed that faith is what drives real leadership in the face of a huge danger. His choice to put God ahead of any military plan led to a miracle win that not only proved, but also strengthened his faith. That win not only made him a stronger leader because of God, but it also made the whole kingdom of Judah more religious. People still remember what Jehoshaphat taught them about how important it is to put God above everything else. "Believe in the Lord your God, and you will be saved," says 2 Chronicles 20:20. It will work out if you believe in his messengers. People of all ages can learn from this lesson about faith, which is that we need to believe God no matter what. The amazing success and peace that Jehoshaphat brought to Judah are strong reminders that real leadership not only looks for ways to lead when things are going well, but also, and perhaps more importantly, when things are going badly. Not only did he make Judah rich and stable politically, but he also started a cultural and spiritual rebirth that lasted for many years. By living by Jehoshaphat's rules, we are told to turn to God first when things go wrong, to believe what he says, and to act with faith and fairness. The story of Jehoshaphat encourages us to follow our faith, knowing that God will always be there to help and protect us. It shows us that being obedient and having a close relationship with the Lord are the only ways to be truly safe and wealthy. So no matter what problems we face, we need to trust God like Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah did. We need to trust God like Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah did. By doing this, we can see that God is strong enough to save and bless us even when things look the worst. We come to the end of our journey through the story of Jehoshaphat with a sense of rebirth and hope. We want to feel the fullness of God's blessing in our lives. May his example encourage us to grow in our faith and live in line with divine ideals. Thanks for coming along with us as we talk about religion and the Asgite leader. We hope that reading about Jehoshaphat has moved you and made your faith stronger. This movie is meant to inspire you to trust and have faith in everything. Please share it with your friends and family if it moves you. Don't forget to like this video and follow our station to see more like it. Building a community of faith and hope is something we can all do to make a difference. Thank you for following us to the end of this incredible story. See you in the next video. May God be with you always. Amen.